Interesting to hear that, sir. And I was fearing this is a kind of plague spreading through our country only, and it is because I'm old, or that I'm a Briton living here among Saxons, that I'm often left alone, holding some memory when all around me have let it slip. We found it just the same, sir, though we offer enough from the mist, but that's how my wife and I have come to call it. We seem to do so less than the younger ones. Can you see an explanation for it, sir? I've heard many things spoken about it, friend, and mostly Saxon superstition. But last winter a stranger came this way who had something to say on this matter, to which I find myself giving more credence the more I think on it. Now what's this? Ivor, who had remained at the door, his staff in his hand, turned with surprising agility for one so twisted. Excuse your host, friends. This may be our brave men already returned. It's best for now you remain in here and not show yourselves. Once he had left, Axel and Beatrice remained silent for some time, their eyes closed, grateful in their respective chairs for the chance to rest. Then Beatrice said quietly, "What do you suppose Ivor was going to say then, Axel?" "About what, Princess?" "He was talking about the mist and the reason for it." "Just a rumor he heard once. By all means, let's ask him to speak more on it. An admirable man. Has he always lived among the Saxons?" "Ever since he married a Saxon woman a long time ago, so I'm told. What became of her, I've never heard. Axel, wouldn't it be a fine thing to know the cause of the mist?" "A fine thing indeed, but what good will it do? I don't know." "How can you say so, Axel? How can you say such a heartless thing? What is it, Princess? What's the matter?" Axel sat up in his chair and looked over to his wife. "I only meant knowing its cause wouldn't make it go away, here or in our own country. If there's even a chance of understanding the mist, it could make such a difference to us. How can you speak so lightly of it, Axel?" "I'm sorry, Princess. I didn't mean to do so. My mind was on other things." "How can you be thinking of other things when we only today heard what we did from the boatmen?" "Other things, Princess, such as if those brave men have come back with the child unharmed, or if this village with its frightened guards and flimsy grate is to be invaded this night by monstrous fiends wishing revenge for the rude attention paid them. There's plenty for a mind to dwell on, never mind the mist or the superstitious talk of strange boatmen." "No need for harsh words, Axel. I never wish to quarrel." "Forgive me, Princess. It must be this mood here is affecting me." But Beatrice had become tearful. "No need to talk so harshly," she muttered almost to herself. Rising, Axel made his way to her, rocking to her rocking seat, and crouching slightly, held her closely to his chest. "I'm sorry, Princess," he said. "We'll be sure to talk to Ivor about the mist before we leave this place." Then, after a moment, during which they continued to hold each other, he said, "To be frank, Princess, there was a particular thing on my mind just now." "What was that, Axel?" "I was wondering what the medicine woman said to you about your pain." "She said it was nothing, but what's to be expected with the years." "Just what I always said, Princess. Didn't I tell you there was no need for worry?" "I wasn't the one worrying, husband. It was you insisting we go see the woman tonight." "It's as well we did, for now we needn't worry about your pain if ever we did before." She gently freed herself from his embrace and allowed her seat to rock back. "Axel," she said, "the medicine woman mentioned an old monk she says is even wiser than her. He's helped many from this village, a monk called Jonas. His monastery is a day from here, up in the mountain road east." The mountain road east. Axel wandered towards the door, which Ivor had left ajar, and looked out into the darkness. "I'm thinking, Princess, we could as easily take the higher road tomorrow as the low one through the woods." "That's a hard road, Axel, a lot of climbing. It will add at least a day to our journey, and there's our own son anxious for our arrival." "That's all true, but it seems a pity, having come this far, not to visit that wise monk." "It was only something the medicine woman said, thinking we were traveling that way. I told her our son's village was more easily reached by the low road, and she agreed herself then it was hardly worth our while, there being nothing troubling me but the usual aches that come with the years." Axel went on gazing through the doorway into the dark. "Even so, Princess, we might think about it yet. But here's Ivor, returning and not looking happy." Ivor came striding in, breathing heavily and sitting down in a wide chair piled with skins. allowed his staff to fall with a clatter at his feet. A young fool swears he sees a fiend scale the outside of our fence and now peeking at us from over top of it. A mighty commotion, I needn't tell you, and it's all I can do to raise a party to go and see if it's true. Of course there's nothing where he points but the night sky, but he goes on saying the fiend's there looking at us, and the rest of them cowering behind me like children with their hoes and spears. Then the fool confesses he fell asleep on his watch and saw the fiend in his dream, and even then do they hasten back to their posts? They're so terrified I have to swear to beat them till their own kin mistake them for mutton. He looked around him, still taking heavy breaths. Excuse your host, friends. I'll be sleeping in the inner room if I'm to sleep at all tonight. So do what you can to find comfort here, though there's little to offer. On the contrary, Sir, Axel said, you've offered us wondrously comfortable lodgings, and we're grateful for it. I'm sorry if it wasn't better news called you outside just now. We must wait, perhaps, well into the night and the morning, too. To where do your friends travel, sir? We'll set off east tomorrow, sir, to our son's village, where we're anxiously awaiting us. But on this matter you may be of help, for my wife and I were just arguing the best road to take. We hear of a wise monk by the name of Jonas at a monastery up on the mountain road, whom we might consult on a small matter. Jonas certainly has a revered name, though I've never met the man face to face. Go to him by all means, but be warned, the journey to the monastery is no easy one. The path will climb steeply for much of your day, and when at last it levels, you must take care not to lose your way, for you'll be in Kerrig country. Kerrig? The she-dragon? I've not heard talk of her in a long time. Is she still feared in this country? She rarely leaves the mountains now, Ivor said. Though she may on a whim attack a passing traveler, it's likely she's often blamed for the work of wild animals or bandits. In my view, Kerrig's menace comes less from her own actions than from the fact of her continuing presence. So long as if she's left at liberty, all manner of evil can't help but breed across our land like a pestilence. Take these fiends which curse us tonight. Where did they come from? They're no mere ogres. No one here has seen their like before. Why did they journey here to make camp on our riverbank? Kerrig may rarely show herself, but many a dark force stems from her, and it's a disgrace she remains unslain all these years. But Ivor, Beatrice said, who'd wish to challenge such a beast? By all accounts, Kerrig's a dragon of great fierceness and hidden in difficult terrain. You're right, Mistress Beatrice. It's a daunting task. It happens there's an aged knight left over from Arthur's days, charged by that great king many years ago to slay Kerrig. You may come across him should you take the mountain road. He's not easily missed, dressed in a rusted chainmail and mounted on a weary steed, always eager to proclaim his sacred mission, though I'd guess the old fool has never given that she-dragon a single moment of anxiety. We'll reach a great age waiting for the day he fulfills his duty. By all means, friends, travel to the monastery, but go with caution, and be sure to reach safety before safe shelter by nightfall. Ivor began to move to the inner room, but Beatrice quickly sat up and said, You were talking earlier, Ivor, about the mist. How have you heard something of the cause of it? But then were called away before you could say more. We're anxious now to hear you speak on this matter. Ah, the mist. A good name for it. Who knows how much truth there is in what we hear, Mistress Beatrice. I suppose I was speaking of the stranger riding through our country last year and sheltered here. He was from the Fens, much like our brave visitor tonight, though speaking a dialect often hard to understand. I offered him use of this poor house as I've done for you, and we talked on many matters through the evening, among them this mist, as you aptly have called it. Our strange affliction interested him greatly, and he questioned me again and again on the matter, and then he ventured something I dismissed at the time, but have since much pondered. The stranger thought it might be God himself had forgotten much of our past, events far distant, events on the same day, and if a thing is not in God's mind, then what chance has it of remaining in those of mortal men? Beatrice stared at him. Can such a thing be possible, Ivor? We're each of us a dear child. Would God really forget what we have done and what's happened to us? My question exactly, Mistress Beatrice, and the stranger could offer no answer. But since that time I found myself thinking more and more of his words. Perhaps it's as good an explanation as any for what you name the mist. Now forgive me, friends, I must take some rest while I can.